right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here. I'm with one of the world's most famous farmers, certainly one of the most famous farmers in the United States. His name is Joel Salatin. He's an author of many books. He's been featured on a lot of movies about food, about agriculture. He is famous for pasture-based farming. Am I right? Is that the right way to do it?
Right, yeah.
Local food systems, food freedom. Yeah. Food freedom! That sounds like so American, right? Food freedom. Well, Mr. Joel Salatin, so this is the second time you're here in the land of Israel. Yes. Both times you've come with the HaYovel organization, and you've given talks about farming. You're a busy guy. You've got a farm. Why are you coming to Israel? And why are you giving talks about farming here? Not only to regular farms, but to hilltop farms. What's that all about?
Well, it's all about, number one, I love Israel. And number two, it is to try to see if we can move the prophecies of a flourishing, vibrant land. I've traveled all over the world, and I don't know when I've been in a more desolate looking place for farming. I mean, the rocks, the dry, the bedrock. I mean, it's just, and on our farm in Virginia, we came after, this has had thousands of years of exploitation. We came after only 150 years to our neck of the woods in Virginia of 150 years of European exploitation. And we know that it lost somewhere between 3 and 5 feet or a meter and a half of topsoil in 150 years with plowing and incorrect work. So when we came to our farm, we had large areas that were solid rock, bedrock, just like here. And over my lifetime in 65 years, I'm older than that, but we've been there for 65 years. I've seen this bedrock grow about 12 to 14 inches of soil on it. And so I know that we can grow soil. I know that we can heal, we can redeem the landscape. And so it's partly to be a partner in the accomplishment of those prophecies of rivers flowing and the abundance and the flourishing of the nation, to fulfill those prophecies that I come to encourage, inspire, and help farmers fulfill those prophecies.
I got to tell you, that what you just said was very moving to me. Mm-hmm. Because I love the idea of making it happen. And you're talking about regeneration of soil. You're talking about making something flourish again. That's the language of the rebirth of Israel.
Absolutely. Read Zechariah. It's all through there. And I've had the privilege of being places around the world where that kind of success has been accomplished. And not only on our own farm, but on other places. I was in a place in Arizona, which is a desert, and I saw a ranch there that had done these principles with water management and carbon and organic matter and all that, and in a few years, short years, like less than 10 years, several springs began running that hadn't run for 50 years, and grasses germinated, and so we've seen that same level of work at our place. And it's not just soil, water. It's we just participated in a Smithsonian sponsored working landscape study where I think I'm right on this. We were the only place in Virginia where they found all 8 bumblebee types that are known to exist in Virginia. They exist other places, but we're the only place where all 8 of them. And pollinators, that kind of thing, that is an indicator of a flourishing of life. And few things excite me more than seeing somebody come to the farm. We view the farm as an object lesson of spiritual truth. So we want people to leave the farm and say to each other, oh, that's what mercy looks like. Oh, that's what redemption looks like. Oh, that's what provision looks like. And I've been so blessed to be a part of that, a participant of that, of literally Yahweh's hands and feet, you know, he could use angels, he could use cherubims, he could use the voice of his power, but he chose us to be his hands and his feet, to touch and touch this creation object lesson of his spirit, of his divine provenance and abundance to us. And so if I can touch my Israeli brethren with that concept, first of all, the concept that yes, we can do this, and B, then how to do it and move it forward, that will be a great addition to the overall healing of the nations.
You know, we have a concept of the resurrection of the dead, and certainly that's an important Christian concept as well. But like, I always tell my kids that resurrection is much more than that. It's every time I tell them, when you get new shoes, you just got a new skin on your feet. You have a new life for your feet. When you have a new job, new opportunities, new people that you meet, there's like a rebirth, you know, a renewal. I don't want to get theologically down in problems here. But I'm just saying, a kind of, you know, that's what you're doing. You're bringing the knowledge of exactly what we're doing, which is a kind of resurrection, a kind of rebirth of this land.
Well, that's the whole idea, is that things that are the idea of rebirth and regeneration, which has now become a catchword in agriculture, regenerative ag, is really a
regenerative ag.
Regenerative ag. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of the new buzzword. But but in order for something to regenerate, it has to have been dead. And so people don't talk about the dead part. But the fact is, there is a lot of death, destruction, and dysfunction in the world, and we, as God's emissaries, are to be participants. Our calling is to be participants in that engagement with the healing, the regeneration, the resurrection, the new life that comes when divine principles are instituted in life and on the landscape.
You're talking my language, you know. You're just talking a little bit better than I would, but that's exactly what I'm involved in, which is rebuilding. In fact, one of the things that I dream about at night is rebuilding Hebron and making it alive again. And I gave you a talk, and again, I want to thank the Cowboys and the Israel guys and HaYovel for bringing you out here. And not only, by the way, did you come here to tour, you actually came to teach.
Yeah.
Right? You came to teach. We'll get back to that in a second. But you came to Hebron. One of the arguments that I made to you is that our enemies want to make Israel seem like an outsider, a foreigner, and something very inorganic. Mm-hmm. And my argument is actually that Israel is the one word that says it all, is organic. Mm-hmm. It's a nation back on its land, the language, the names, the DNA, the Torah, the places, the children, the tomb of the forefathers and mothers here in Hebron behind me, where we saw children and soldiers frolicking next to this tomb today.
Right.
It's all one. And of course, the heaven above, it's all a oneness. And I thought to myself, well, there's nobody who's going to understand that word organic more than you. Because there's a difference between a person who says it, who buys it in the supermarket, and a person who knows what the roots smell like and what it all feels like. So what's your comment on the word organic?
Well, organic speaks to authenticity, and in farming, as the word was applied in farming, it was to differentiate between natural principles and artificiality. Artificiality being chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides, and of course in our food, you know, all the unpronounceable ingredients in food these days.
And I think I just saw an article today that a lot of this is bringing a great health crisis in the United States.
Well, yeah, the United States, invented DDT. It invented many of these things, genetically modified organisms and different things. And there's a reason why the United States is now the sickest country in the developed world, because we invented these artificialities. You know, Sir Albert Howard said in 1940, he said, when we use artificials into the soil, it grows artificial plants, which makes artificial animals, which then makes artificial people who can only be kept alive with artificials. That was before the big pharmaceutical industry was in. If he was writing today, he would have said pharmaceuticals, but artificials is good enough. One of the reasons we don't use chemical fertilizers for physical reasons, but also spiritually, the chemical fertilizer concept says we can grow things without something dying. And the fact is, until there's a sacrifice, there can't be life. Life requires a sacrifice. Everything is eating and being eaten. So when I talk to little children, I say, hey, you want to flourish in life? You die to self. You sacrifice yourself. And that's the way you flourish. And so everything we've done in chemical agriculture, industrial chemical agriculture, is to reduce this consistent thread, as you said, this organic consistent thread that runs spirit, physical, our life here, the life hereafter, and it all runs in a very consistent pattern right through.
I never thought about the death element as being like a life-giving thing. I never thought of it that way, and I'm going to have to think about that.
Well, in order for you and I to live, we have to eat something.
Right.
And I mean, now we know even carrots talk to each other. Acacia leaves talk to each other. So the truth is that the cosmos is pulsing with sentience. That's the difference.
What does that word mean?
Sentience with communicative understanding. In other words, with responsiveness. Okay, we know now that a garden responds better to, for example, classical music than it does to hard rock. I mean, those studies have been experimented. Water crystals even respond to. I don't want to get all woo-woo and weird on you, but I mean, but this is fearfully and wonderfully made. It's not just nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. It's not just grow it faster, fatter, bigger, cheaper. What we want is a farm that honors the cowness of the cow, the chickenness of the chicken, because it's in honoring the cowness of the cow that we create an ethical, moral framework to honor the Yishai-ness of Yishai, you know, the Miriam-ness of Miriam-ness. You can't have an honored citizenry when you dishonor all the life sustenance that goes into it. So, you know, this is all wrapped up in a consistent, not only a consistent theology, but a consistent philosophy that was ripped apart by St. Augustine and the Greco-Roman idea of segregating and compartmentalizing thought. It's all holy.
One of the things that I do sometimes when I walk into a room or when I'm in a room of prayer or let's say at a conference, I do a little meditation with myself. I say, let my mind commune with all the other minds here. Mm-hmm. Let us have and I'm also a city councilman. Yeah. And when I get into these meetings, I just go, let me hear the other minds. Let my mind be in their minds. Yes. Let us have a communication that's not with words. And I've also heard that intelligence is today measured generationally. Mm-hmm. Meaning to say, what is the intelligence of a generation? What's the communication? We've had a lot of stuff right now that is throwing that off. If it's TikTok and other things, there's been a lot of anti-Israel stuff, and there's a lot of messaging right now which has distanced the United States from Israel just in the last few months. Yeah. It's really, if we were talking about biologically, it's a disease or a what do you call it when there's a growth on a tree?
It's a cancer. It's an abscess. It's a scab. Yeah, that's right. And it's a scab of thinking. It's a cancer of thinking, and it's not healthy. And God created this. He said it's good. In fact, He said it's very good. And so when we see, dysfunction, disease, sickness, we view it as a manifestation of something that is out of whack or out of balance or out of thought, whatever you see in it. we have thousands of animals, and we just don't have a vet bill. I mean, it's not that we never, you never lose if you're going to have 1,000 chickens, you're probably going to lose one. All right. But there's not an economic thing. And we don't sit around in fear about, bird flu or hoof and mouth disease or, all these other things. We don't sit around in fear of this, because by faith we say God's patterns work. And if we adhere to those patterns, it'll be healthy. Which, I can't let that go without pointing out that Israel has a little bit of growth to go in this area. And
I don't mind. On this show, on the Yishai Fleischer show, we are okay with loving criticism, okay?
Yeah.
We are, and we're not okay with a kind of hubris that says that we know everything. We don't.
Yeah.
And we want to learn from people like you, and that's why I'm so thankful again to HaYovel and to the Israel guys for bringing you here to teach. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I've also heard that the farmers were very interested.
Right.
They were listening, and they were already sending you videos saying, like, we're trying to master these things and put them into practice.
Yeah. So I just learned on this trip the other day. So there's apparently there's quite a regulatory prohibition on chickens outside, chickens on pasture. Well, so
I did not know that.
In the two seminars we've done, I've asked for the farmers in the audience, if you were a chicken, what would you like? Well, I'd like fresh air, sunshine, be able to scratch, use my feet, bugs, you've got this thing. And I say, so how many chickens enjoy this in a conventional, approved factory farm? Well, none. And so this is
you don't have happy chickens then.
You don't have happy chickens,
and then you don't have happy meat or happy eggs.
And I suggest that the cortisol from adrenaline drips. We've seen it in our own experience. Our meat at our farm, we service a lot of white tablecloth restaurants, and we've learned that all of our meats cook 15% faster than industrial. And it's because the animals are never stressed. You tighten up when you're stressed.
Wow.
And the other thing that's happened. So then I said, well, why is this in Israel? Why do they have such an antipathy toward chickens outside? Well, it's because there's this thinking that if manure touches the ground, it might go into a stream and pollute a stream. So then I said, well, all these big chicken factories, where does all that manure goes? They feed it to cows. They feed the chicken manure to cows. I mean, that's a complete opposition and inversion of natural pattern, not only to feed cows chicken manure, but in nature, birds follow herbivores, not herbivores following birds. And so there's there's work to do here. And
in terms of policy as well.
In terms of policy, if you could just stand a moment of analysis.
No, I can. That's what's so fun about you, is because you're talking spirituality, but you're backing it up with science, with experience, with real farming. Right. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah. So what's happened here in Israel, I've learned that unlike almost every other country in the world, there is not a deep Israeli agricultural anchor here, experience. All the farmers here are just first generation in, and the first generation farmers, from 1948, came not as farmers. Jews didn't own land. They were gemstone cutters. They were clock makers. They had tools of the trade they could throw in a bag so they could flee somewhere. They didn't buy land and settle land, in places. And so when the nation was founded, and it's obviously a very young nation, reborn, reborn nation, regenerated nation.
Right. We died a little bit.
Yeah, you died. That's right, you died, and it's wonderful to see the coming out. So what happened? What happened then was that the farmers, the folks that put their hands up, said, "Yes, I'll farm," didn't have grandfathers and great grandfathers. They didn't have a farming tradition in their background. Well, where did they look? They looked to their friend America, the U.S., which leads the world in an and an anti-ecology, anti-nutrition. I mean, we invented, Coca-Cola, potato chips. I mean, we invented all this TV dinners, and so squeezable Velveeta cheese, and so as well as factory farming, industrial farming and industrial chemicalization, and so as these farmers looked for a coach, the U.S. became the coach, and so Israel has pretty much in agriculture adopted American agriculture, which I know and people like me know is the fastest way to lose soil, destroy nutrition, and actually destroy the health of the people. And so I'm here. One of the things I'm trying to do is bring this circle of understanding. You're as healthy as what you eat eats, and what you eat eats the soil that grew the plant that fed the what you eat eats. It's this circle to bring that understanding to folks, so that Israel can detour from this love of tech space. Yesterday, I was with these sheep farmers, and so we have sheep, and we lamb once a year with no grain. The lambs finish on grass, which makes the highest, riboflavin and vitamins and all that, rather than grain. And here, they told me the goal is three lambings every 2 years.
I'm sorry, what's a lambing exactly?
When a ewe lambs, when she has babies.
Okay.
Lambing, okay? And so we lamb once a year, which is the natural pattern. Deer have fawns once a year, and those sheep can last a long time. Though deer, they stay healthy a long time. You don't see veterinarians going out and taking care of deer problems. The problem is here, there are all sorts of sheep diseases that are here because the farmers are trying to squeeze a lamb every 8 months, and it doesn't let the ewe recuperate. And so here there are a lot of diseases in the sheep, huge diseases in sheep, and a lot of mortality, a lot of problems. I mean, almost no. This is the only country I've ever been in where the lambs routinely are not allowed to nurse their mothers. And that's primarily in Judea and Samaria, where security is a real issue. But
what does that have to do with it?
Well, because they can't leave their sheep out at night.
I see.
And so they have to bring them back. At least that's what they're thinking. And the result is that they have a 50 to 60% mortality in the lambs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So I've encouraged them, and I met my first hero yesterday, who listened to me 3 years ago, and and what they're doing is they're saying, let's leave the lambs on the ewes, let's not bring them in, and instead we'll have somebody sleep out there with the sheep, so the sheep don't have to walk 2 miles or 3 kilometers every day.
Stay out in the fields.
Stay out in the fields and protect them, and the cost of security is economically way better than the cost of mortality and disease. So, but the thing is, it takes somebody from outside to look in and say, wait a minute, people. And I'm the same way. I mean, we all are in our silos, aren't we? And that's why lots of times our biggest breakthroughs are when people come into our silo and say, well, have you thought of this? No, actually, I haven't. But if you can see from somebody else's eyes, you get the benefit of that other view. So that's a real step of progress. And he has now instituted all this daily moves. He confines them, moves them every day with electric fence. I say, how do you put electric fence in these rocky fields? He says, oh, we just carry a cordless drill with us, and if we come to a rock, we can't get an electric fence stake in, we just 30 seconds, we drill a little hole, stick the stake in, and we just go right on. I mean, completely nonplussed. I mean, all of the, no, you can't do it here, you can't. suddenly here he is. So I'm real excited to find my first, implementer and positive can-do spirit here on these very concepts that I've been promoting.
Joel Salatin, I want to finish up by saying you talked about seeing it from a different set of eyes, and there was a non-Jew, a Gentile, who had a very famous set of eyes that came and saw things from the outside. His name was Jethro. And yes, I think that he was the Jethro of the legal system. I think you're the Jethro of farming for the land of Israel. And amazingly, you're also not just coming to general farms, but also to the farms of Judea and Samaria. By helping them, you're helping us regenerate this land, give rebirth to this nation, and do it in a healthy fashion. I really want to thank you, and I want to bless you here at the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, that God give you continued strength, you and your family, and that you come back again, and that you don't, I beg you not to be frustrated by our bureaucracy and our slowness and our stubbornness.
I've got enough frustration for that with the American bureaucracy. Believe me, we're similar.
God bless you, and thank you so much. Joel Salatin, America's most famous farmer, but not an American farmer in that sense, because he's saying that America also has got a lesson to learn, but he's bringing those lessons of healthy farming to this land and helping us regenerate. What did you call it? Regenerative ag?
Regenerative agriculture.
Okay, yeah. Well, of course, that's what God wants. He wants us to be reborn in this land, and I showed Joel Salatin, the children, frolicking here next to the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs. What could be more regenerative than that? All right, folks, thanks again to HaYovel and the Cowboys and the Israel guys for bringing Joel Salatin. God bless you wherever you are. Don't forget to support our fight to beautify the land of Israel, fightforisrael.org with the number 4, fightforisrael.org, and buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. Joel Salatin, God bless you, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Yishai.
Todah. Come again.
Thank you.